cost in here this year. And
So that was a one-time deal?
that was a one-time deal. We have a maintenance fee for the website that will go for the next couple of years. It was,
Yeah.
he had lowered that to $2,500 from a quote of 28. So we've got the maintenance fee in there. IT is going to change based on some of the information that John's going to provide today. I did not include his portion of what we'll be proposing to the county from our IT committee.
Okay.
So that's not included in there. But there is a cost for licenses for the time and attendance, which actually may be done this year, so it could be reduced even more by $4,000.
Could the web maintenance go up under other fees and services? Or do you prefer to have it under information
I
technology?
can move it. It's going to have, that line item will go up. But that I use for legal fees if necessary also.
You have, under other fees and services, that includes legal fees?
Mhm. Any consultation that I might have to do, or
Okay, your bottom line is up by $6,600, but most of that is in salary adjustment.
correct.
What is the salary adjustment? I think I missed it.
I'm sorry. What I'm looking for is to increase my assistant salary, to get her up to par with some of the other positions in this county that I feel that my department and her position, what we do in HR goes above and beyond what an HR department really does. And to put her at par with the other counties in the same position.
Any other questions? All right, let's get into Cybertron.
Okay, John's here. The IT committee met, the last meeting we had was about 6 weeks ago, a month or so ago. We need to do some server upgrades, and John's going to speak to that, and some of the other equipment that we were hoping to get into the budget this year. The server that he's going to discuss is critical that we replace it this year, and some of the other
Before the
equipment.
end of the year?
No, this
Are you saying, or
upcoming.
next year?
No, this is for next year's budget. Now, Commissioner Kenny, you weren't here yet when I was brought on last year. But when I came aboard last year, we did a complete analysis of this entire network. That includes this building as well as the nursing home building. And what we found out was that over 90% of the equipment throughout the entire network was outdated already. So we have worked to come up with a plan to phase in over a 3 to 4 year period to get all that up to date. And for this coming year, what we are looking to replace is the mail server that services this entire building. That server not only hosts the email for all the departments in this building, but it's also the primary server for this entire network that includes all the departments in this building, including the sheriff. That server is underpowered and very unstable, and we have been limping it along for the last year. I have to restart it at least once a month, and when that happens, that affects everybody here. I understand it wasn't in the budget this year, so we are just limping it along. However, we can't continue to do that. Now, all the servers that were here as of last year all need to be replaced. But we have, some of them are just old and underpowered, but they are doing the job, so we are pushing those off till the following year or two. This one server just can't go that long. It is in danger of failing at any time. It goes down without warning or just simply stops working. And again, we're limping it along because it's not in this year's budget, but we need to get it replaced as soon as possible.
And what's the cost?
The total cost For the server, we have to do some updates to software for the workstations, et cetera. But all told, our budget is $18,000. About 18.1 to be specific. Now, that's when we're buying hardware, we're using advertised price for government agencies. A lot of times when we actually call and place orders, we can get them down even more. But for the purposes of this discussion, that's their advertised price, and we go from there.
I'm assuming when you buy equipment that you as a company are not getting a kickback on what you buy from a company, and how are you associated with the equipment company? Are we buying it from one company, or are we buying it where we get the best price and the best quality?
As a for instance, just this past week, I've been dealing with the county attorney because he's purchasing 5 new laptops.
Right, through a grant.
Through a grant. And he had initially looked at these laptops from Staples, and I went and researched where I could get them elsewhere, and we found them from Office Max at nearly $100 per notebook less, and I provided him that information. My job is to do what's best for the county. If I can personally sell it to you from my company at a competitive price, I will, but I have no problem finding the best price out there.
Okay.
And that is, as your IT administrator, that is my job.
Okay. Regarding the sheriff's department, there are certain items in the sheriff's department that's not for general public information. Is, from what you've learned from the sheriff's department, what needs to be done there, if anything?
The forensic lab has been completely dismantled and removed from the department. What is left over there is strictly their in-house network. Anything that was of that sensitive a nature, even I wouldn't have access to, as I am not a deputy. So all of that stuff has been removed. There's the ICAC network, the Internet Crimes Against Children, that has all been removed from this building and brought back to Portsmouth PD as they were part of that system. Again, I don't have the full details, I'm not a deputy, but that is no longer here. And what's left is simply their in-house network.
And this was all agreed to with the sheriff? I mean, this is,
Between
I'm
this,
not sure what we're talking about here, about transferring something to Portsmouth. I guess the question is, why were we doing it in the first place?
having the forensic lab in-house was a benefit to the sheriff's department because they could do that work right here in a timely manner,
Yep.
as opposed to now you go through the state forensic lab and you get put in the queue and you wait until they get to it. So it was a benefit to the county to have
So
it
now
here.
it's going to be delayed because we're no longer doing that?
I would believe so, yes. And again, that's just my impression of it. I was not privy to the details of it.
Does that reduce the budget at all by taking that out and it goes back to Portsmouth? We have less responsibilities with that? Do we need less equipment? Or could we use less equipment?
That equipment is not part of any budget that I'm involved in. And again,
Okay.
that really goes before I was involved with that department.
Who belongs to that equipment, do you know?
I do not know.
Okay. Okay. As I said earlier, I think we need to sit down and renegotiate our contract. I think we've got some items now that we've been on it for a year, a little more than that, and more than that with the jail, even with them for a while.
Yes.
But I think there's some things that we need to take a look at. And one example being the setup cost. I think it's $300 a computer.
Yes.
I'd like to look at that and do something about that,
Okay.
so you can be prepared to look into that particular item, justify it or whatever. Anybody got any questions?
I have a question, there we have you here. Can you explain for the public, you put a line in for $45,000 in the new nursing home, what it is?
In the new nursing home, we had to put in a new infrastructure, that is switches for the servers and workstations to all communicate with one another. Due to the physical size of that building, we actually have 9 separate locations where we have switches installed. We also put in a secure, both a secure and an unsecure wireless network. The secured stuff obviously is for the in-house network, so that the nurses and aides and staff can literally put a computer on a cart and wheel it around from residence room to residence room.
I believe that was in our budget
Yes, it
for
was.
the nursing home.
Yes, it was.
But that's a one-time deal,
That
right?
is a one-time fee.
Right. Okay. Anybody got any further? When is your contract up? I don't have that in front of me, do you know?
It's in
March
March
31st.
2012.
Yes.
It's an annual contract? or
Yes, it is.
Okay, it's an annual, okay.
We did an analysis of the work for a 12-month period ending September of this year. And what we found was that we are spending an average of 48.5 hours per month on site and another 15 hours minimum of work done off-site, whether that's remotely accessing the network and doing work, or bringing machines back to our shop and repairing them, cleaning them up, etc. So the contract, you've gotten your money's worth out of us.
I didn't get it offsite. How many hours?
15 hours minimum per month.
I have a question. There is no wireless here?
There is no public wireless here in this building.
Yeah, but the departments, they have wireless in their office or not?
In this building, the sheriff's department has wireless access. In the sheriff's department itself is a wireless access point that is secure for them. It is actually internet access only. And in this room, we actually have a wireless access point that is above the ceiling over there. And that is there so that when the Emergency Operations Center activates in this room, they have access. And again, that is internet access only. There is no wireless access to this network at all. So even if somebody were to get into this wireless, which they will not, they still wouldn't have access to the network.
Why do the other departments have no wireless or wireless internet?
I don't see the need for it. Everybody has a computer and an actual desk. So for the staff members here, there is no benefit to them having wireless. If the commission would like to have public access wireless in here, we could do that relatively inexpensively. If the commissioners themselves would like access to the wireless in this room, we can set that up. But we don't want that available to the general public because it is for the Emergency Operations Center.
Yeah, we don't want to touch that.
Exactly.
Yeah. We reached an agreement with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court regarding use of video in the jail, in the courthouse.
Mhm.
You agree that wiring in the jail is sufficient to handle that process?
Yes, I did some tests on the internet access speeds over there, and it was nearly twice the minimum that they recommended. And the wiring, of course, was all brand new with the facility, so we
Yeah.
have no issues whatsoever installing that.
Okay. Any idea what it would cost to maintain that? I know the court will maintain it the first year after the first year, then it's gonna be up to us. You have any idea what it would cost to maintain it?
I don't have a list of the hardware involved, but I can't imagine that there is much other than a dedicated PC with a camera